The movie begins in 1945 somewhere in Germany with Private Heinrich being chased by a company of German soldiers. Heinrich is running for his life and continues being chased. Finally, he ends up in a jungle. He is finally caught by the Germans, as they surround him and later tie him up. Now, it is revealed that Heinrich is being sentenced to death for deserting the army, as it is not allowed by their rules to do so. Heinrich states that he has been lied to for the past 6 years about why there needs to be a war. Heinrich regrets joining the army and indulging in activities he now knows were wrong and against basic human rights. It is implied that Heinrich might have seen horrors inflicted on Jewish men and women, people who opposed the German government, and many others that did not suit the government's narrative of being model citizens. All of them were ostracized and probably exterminated. Heinrich did not want any more blood on his hands, which is why he was ready to accept death. Soon Heinrich was hanged by the neck to a tree and left to die by the Germans. But as the soldiers drive away, he is rescued by Elsa, a local farm girl who herself is a war widow. She runs the household with her brother Paul, and they are happy to help Heinrich recuperate. The company led by Lt. Colonel von Starnfeld reaches the small town of Sonnenberg and is quick to make themselves at home there. The man is here because he heard of the gold left behind by the Lowensteins, the only Jewish family in town before their home was burned down. The colonel requested that Mayor Robert Schlick gather enough manpower to get the gold. Robert and his accomplices, who include a local woman named Sonia, had already stolen the gold, and they are not keen on being parted from this stack of treasure. With the defeat of Germany looming over the country, Robert, Sonia, and the accomplices would like to have a little fortune tucked away for a gloomy future. Lt. Colonel von Steinfeld's motives are not quite clear, but it can be assumed he wants the money for the Reich. The man is a staunch nationalist, and he would do anything for his so-called fatherland. Their power allows them to act superiorly to the townspeople, and by the looks of it, the Lt. Colonel knows Robert has the money. On the other hand, Heinrich reveals to Elsa he is headed to Hagen to seek his daughter, who was the only person from his family that did not die in the bombing. Elsa reveals her father was arrested for speaking up against Hitler and his policies, and she has not seen him ever since. Heinrich and Elsa form a bond based on the hatred they have for the Nazi Party and the army. Dorfler, another soldier with Lt. Col. von Starnfeld, is brainwashed into being a nationalist as well, and he is now asked to arrange for food for the soldiers because their stock of meat and other provisions is slowly running out. The war is ending, everyone knows, and Germany is on the verge of facing defeat. We may assume the reason the army did not have enough food to eat was that there was not enough money to support the army. Lt. Colonel von Starnfeld orders Dorfler to arrange for food from anywhere he can find. On Elsa's farm, Paul is feeding the animals while Elsa makes Heinrich breakfast. Heinrich tells Elsa that he wants to leave the place as soon as he can, and Elsa suggests he stay there to regain his strength and then he can go anywhere he wants to. While talking, Heinrich shares that his wife and son died in the war bombing, and Elsa shares her condolences for them. As Elsa moves out of the house, she and Paul spot Dorfler and his men coming. Dorfler happens to stop by Elsa's small farmhouse because he spots cows and chickens that could be secured for the food they require. Elsa and her brother Paul show resistance while hiding Heinrich in their home. A scuffle erupts, which leads to Elsa almost getting sexually assaulted by Dorfler. But Heinrich shows up and kills all the soldiers one by one and rescues the siblings. Elsa helps Heinrich in killing some soldiers as well. Dorfler alone retreats in a truck. Heinrich tries to stop him, but he couldn't. 3 of them gather all the weapons dropped by the soldiers and get rid of their dead bodies. They know Dorfler will come back with more men to ravage them. So, all 3 of them leave their house to head to Hagen to find Heinrich's daughter. Elsa and Heinrich made the right decision to leave because they knew if Dorfler brought in more men, there was no chance they would survive the onslaught. It would be better to move away and follow the goal they have in mind. In the next scene, Dorfler is seen lying upside down getting stitches on the cuts he got from the fight with Heinrich. He explains to the colonel that Heinrich managed to survive and what he did to him and his men. He assures the colonel that he will go to the farm again and this time he will kill Heinrich. After that, Paul tries to save his pregnant cow by heading back home, and because of this innocent mistake, Paul is arrested by Dorfler and his cow is killed. Elsa and Heinrich are witnesses to this and follow Dorfler's entourage to Sonnenberg, where Elsa has connections that she plans to use to save her brother. On reaching Sonnenberg, things get out of hand very quickly. Lt. Col. von Starnfeld's search for the gold bars is in progress. Dorfler, on the other hand, humiliates Paul and tries to hang him from the church spire. Paul managed to get hold of some guns and kill some soldiers. The boy is smart and brave, and he knows what he must do to save himself. Unfortunately, he met his death at the hands of Lt. Col. von Starnfeld's bullets, and Elsa is beyond any retribution because of Paul's death. With him gone, she has no family and nothing to lose. She tries to kill Lt. Col. von Starnfeld, but instead, she is captured by his men. Private Heinrich and Dorfler continue their fight, but it is stalled by the American air raids. The American air raids should come across as a warning for them because the country is in turmoil and there is infighting amongst the Germans. The army is in denial about the major loss and is under the delusion that Hitler will save them. Heinrich is gravely injured, and he is rescued by the priest and his partner. They take care of him in their house, and the priest reveals that he buried Paul, and the colonel made Elsa her prisoner. They also reveal the tragic stories of the Lowenstein family to Heinrich and why the colonel and his men came to this town. Priest further tells that the rich and humble family was forced to leave their town because of the mayor's anti-Semitic speeches and rants in 1938. The businessman Lowenstein's son sold the business and converted all his money into gold bars in the hope of using it to move to Palestine. But his father was not willing to leave Germany because he was a true blue German, and moving to another country did not make sense to the Lowenstein patriarch. The gold bars were found accidentally by Sonia and Mayor Robert, and unbeknownst to the mob outside the Lowenstein home, they were quickly stashed away. Now Colonel wants the gold. Mayor Robert is on the verge of giving up the gold because Lt. Colonel von Starnfeld starts behaving like a bully. Sonia and the other accomplices are not keen on parting with the treasure. In that process, they kill Robert and head to the graveyard where the gold was hidden. They do not find the gold there, but the clue left by the thief takes them to the local priest. The priest took the gold away because he and his partner had been ridden by guilt because they could do nothing to save the Lowenstein family. Meanwhile, Sonia would do anything to get her hands on the gold because she has plans to execute and goals to achieve. Elsa, who is kept captive by Lt. Colonel von Starnfeld, runs away from the inn by forcing him to eat the cyanide he had on himself. Meanwhile, Heinrich is told about the actual location of the gold, which is the altar stone inside the church. He tries to rescue Elsa by offering the captors one gold bar in exchange but ends up getting captured by Dorfler and his men. Sonia gets hold of the priest, and he is forced to take her to the church to collect the gold bars. As both teams are about to reach the church, an impending showdown is imminent. The hunger and greed to get hold of the money, even though it never belonged to any one of them, prove that the Nazi supporters are hypocrites. Elsa and the priest's partner arrive at the church to rescue the priest and Heinrich. The priest had placed explosives inside the altar stone so that anyone trying to get hold of it would die. A brutal gunfight ensues that kills the priest, his partner, Sonia's other accomplices, and many of Dorfler's men. He somehow survives long enough to be killed with a gold bar by Heinrich. It was only poetic to see this man get killed by an object that was never his. The Germans were so quick to make Jewish treasurers their own, but they did not want any Jews around. This pushed Heinrich to kill him so that he would die, remembering that the gold bar managed to kill him as well. Soon, Heinrich and Elsa leave the town because they never had any intention of taking the gold away from anyone. They did not need the gold because it would be a sin to live off the money that belonged to someone else. They assumed everybody in the church died, and no one would be alive to take control of the gold bars spread across this place of worship. Sonia remained unconscious or pretended to remain unconscious so that she would be the last person standing. She kills one last soldier she spots in the church because the woman is adamant about getting her hands on the gold. With her accomplices dead, she would be happy to not have to share the treasure. The woman wanted to leave the town and start over. Now, the gold in her possession will give her the freedom to do anything she wants. A few months or weeks later, the radio announces the death of Hitler, and with that, the German army has surrendered and the war in Europe is officially over. Sonia is driving one of the army vehicles when her car is hit by a bomb. The woman seemed happy and content to have heard the news because she can now maybe use this gold to get her way out of Germany. Unfortunately, her car was bombed by an American tank, which is in Germany carrying out rescue operations. They bombed the army vehicle without knowing who was in it, and with the car in smithereens, the American army officers found the gold bars scattered around the wreckage. Sonia dies due to the impact of the explosion, which is proof that the gold bars could do nothing for her. She died, and the greed she had in her to get away with the gold could not stop her from being killed by an American bomb. Meanwhile, the Americans are initially skeptical of what to do with these gold bars. The officer in charge decides not to turn them in, so this treasure could be distributed evenly. This again proves that people on both sides of the war are the same. They prey on someone else's treasures. The Americans also did not know who the gold belonged to, but they kept it for themselves and moved on. Just like Sonia and Lt. Col. von Starnfeld wanted to steal and get away with these valuables, the Americans wanted to do the same because that is human nature. There is no good or bad here. People are inherently selfish, and they would do anything to fulfill their selfish needs. Americans were no different than the Germans, and possessing gold proves they are thieves as much as the Germans were. Later, Heinrich and Elsa finally reach Hagen together, and he reunites with his daughter Lot. His quest to look for his only daughter began after the rest of his family were killed. This propelled his decision to desert the army, find his daughter, and probably move away to another country. His fate had other plans, but it did not separate him from his daughter. He found her, and he could not control his tears at the sight of her. In the last scene, Heinrich is sobbing as he gets to hug his daughter. The focus on his eyes and tears again showcases the relief he is experiencing at having found his daughter. Heinrich may have lost hope, but being able to see his daughter in flesh and blood brings out all his emotions, and all is right for him and Lot from here on.